Welcome to the Compost Pile, a podcast where we break down gardening, homesteading, and more. Join your hosts, David Poole and Aaron Barnhill, as they pile up information and break it down so that you can be more successful in the garden.
Welcome back to the Compost Pile, your podcast for all things gardening and homesteading. With me, as always, is my co-host, David, owner of Mid-County Farm and Feed. He's my expert. I'm the layman. I'm here to ask questions. And what I'm going to start this off with is it's really, really hot outside right now.
It is.
It's really hot. It's not necessarily the middle of the summer yet, but it's about to be here. Everything that I planted in the spring is dying. I'm getting the last little bits of fruits and stuff and veggies that I've planted right now. What do I need to do? Because it just looks like it looks like the end outside. I go outside in my backyard and it's like an apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of things from spring that are maybe just done, or maybe they're not worth the effort to try to keep them going. First one that comes to mind is tomatoes.
Yeah.
We eliminated, I think, pretty much almost all of our tomatoes, even our really, really high producing cherry tomato. It's gone, you know.
Yeah, that's like the only thing that's still limping along right now is some cherry tomatoes.
And we eliminated it because this is the first year in this particular garden where we've really had an issue with stink bugs being more than like one or two. They were everywhere.
Dude, they got all of my tomatoes. I got two good like red tomatoes, like two good beefsteak.
We actually were able to harvest the majority of what we got, even with them around. But at the same time, like, we're not spraying anything. We're not doing anything. Yeah. Like we eliminated a bunch, you know, by putting them in soapy water, killing them.
I had to switch gears with the soapy water. And I switched to a vacuum.
Yeah.
That's what I started doing.
It's easier.
Yeah.
The soapy water is.
And I felt like the soapy water really like stressed the plants out.
Yeah.
Because it was every day.
We try to just like knock them into the soapy water.
Yeah, I was trying, but it would get all over.
Or you could vacuum and dump them into the soapy water to make sure you kill them. But something like that, like, I'm not going to put a lot of energy back into keeping those going. You know, where maybe your peppers, we're keeping those. We're going to.
Yeah, my peppers are doing great.
Yeah.
Peppers are doing fine.
I've got one or two that are a little stressed, you know, because we pulled out some of the tomatoes in the larger plants. So now they're getting a little bit more sun exposure than they were used to. So they're acclimating to that.
All of my herbs have already bolted and done their thing. They're all dying. So.
You know, the herbs are really a personal choice. So just because they bolted doesn't mean they might not provide some benefit. You know?
I leave them up until they kind of flop over and just die because they do have they have things for pollinators.
Yeah.
You
know, most of our herbs that we have, like our basil, our dill, the pineapple sage that we have, they're still going strong.
Yeah.
They're showing a little bit signs of like heat stress, maybe some yellowing, but overall they're still fine, and we're leaving them, especially like the dill. We've had a lot of swallowtail caterpillars.
Sure, yeah.
Unfortunately, the blue jays have eaten every last one of them, and they ate all the monarch caterpillars.
R.I.P.
But, you know,
and they got to eat too, though.
You know, yeah. What am I supposed to do? I mean, it's not my job to shoo them away, I guess.
It's a circle of life, man.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. My dill looks terrible. It's like, it's very yellow. It's leggy and it bolted, and it's not great.
We did this one year, like we just chopped it and let it like start growing new tender growth
back,
and it grew back just fine.
Yeah.
We've been pruning off some of the yellow, like poor looking stuff, but really you got to take a look at what's out there and like, what are you through with? What are you like looking at and being like, I don't want any more of this, and getting rid of those things and starting to plan for.
What would you say to some of the people that are new at gardening and they're having a hard time letting go? You know, I feel like a lot of new gardeners, they get their first batch of cucumbers, and then when the vine starts dying, they kind of just freak out, you know, because it's natural. It's provided a bunch, and then all of a sudden everything starts yellowing and browning.
The sooner you realize that this is just part of the cycle,
and
you just cut ties with it, the more successful you'll be, in my honest opinion, because you're going to be setting yourself up to moving on to the next thing.
Right.
And planning for the next thing. And you see those signs coming and you're like, okay, this is reaching the end of its life or the end of its like usable time for me. And it's not going to provide me enough production to want to keep it in the garden any longer. And I can begin to get ready to put something else here. And then I can start planning, like in this time, the heat's coming.
Yeah.
Most people within the next month are probably going to be, they might still have some peas left growing. They may have their okra, some selections of herbs, and maybe some peppers, eggplant, things that can tolerate the heat. But the variety is going to start thinning out.
Yeah, your tomatoes gone, all your nightshades basically, except for peppers. But.
Eggplant too. Eggplant can take that heat like for a good long while. I mean, eventually it'll stop, but it's very, very drought tolerant, and in a lot of instances. I mean, I have a Japanese eggplant that's doing great right now. It's doing fantastic. But you can be stopping and thinking about the upcoming season.
Right. And kind of how would you describe our seasons here in Zone 9? I feel like we have 2 really strong seasons.
We ideally have 3 seasons, but the interesting part, in most places you go, we think we have 4 seasons, right?
That's in
Southeast
4
Texas,
seasons on the calendar.
We have 4 occurrences of a season here, but there's only 3 actual seasons. So what I mean by that, we start off with the warm season, which we're moving out of. We're planting all of our spring favorites. They're growing. Then we're moving into our hot season, which we've probably already planted our hot crops to get them established before it's really hot.
Like things like your okra we were talking about. Yeah, that's the hot.
So the things that are going to stay in the garden for a lot of people are our hot season crops. And then we're going to follow that up with warm season number 2. So we have a second occurrence of warm season here in this particular zone. So we get the chance to replant all the spring things. So in some areas, you may only get one chance to plant your tomatoes in a given year.
Yeah, up in the zones, right? When you're like in Michigan.
So what we've done here with the way the climate works, we've replaced our cold season with a cool season, which we call fall.
Right.
So our fall crops, our legumes, our brassicas are going to grow in that cooler temperatures.
Like lettuces and such.
Yeah, your greens, your root crops, like beets and turnips. But we get the chance starting next month in August to begin to put out second rounds of our warm season crops. So for people that
it's like spring too.
Yeah. And honestly, it's kind of easier in a sense.
It feels like it has less pests, It
does.
Yeah.
So you think about at what point do pests really become prevalent, and do problems in a spring garden become prevalent?
At the end.
When it's really hot.
Right, when it's hot.
So in this instance,
that's when the stink bugs get all of our tomatoes.
So in this instance, we're gonna let our hot season crops grow throughout, but then we're gonna begin now, if we want to do tomatoes and peppers, start anew, we're going to be seeding those now, or maybe we already seeded them last month to get them ready to go for a mid-August planting.
So it would be a good time to start some seeds indoors with a hot mat and like a light.
But right now, like beginning of July, and that's a important thing for those people that are struggling to let go of those plants that are looking sad and poor.
Yeah.
Stop and remember, you can start over.
Hey, that's good.
You can get production and value for way less effort by planting a second time. And that's coming up fast. But you can replant, your tomatoes. You can replant your peppers. You can replant squash. Virtually all the favorites, cucumbers, can be done in a second round. So and what's happening, you're seeding them while it's still warm. But instead of growing into the hot season, they're growing out of the hot season.
Sure.
One thing to keep in mind, though, is that season is going to be a little bit shorter. Once it gets too cool, things stop producing. They're going to start to struggle.
They get stunted.
So the same thing happens on the other end of the spectrum, but it tends to be oftentimes without as much disease or pest pressure. It just kind of trickles out. With cool temperatures. So timing is really, really relevant, even more so for fall planting in your warm season crops, you got to be on the money, especially if you're planting tomatoes, because you plant them 1 week too late, you may not get any production.
So how would somebody know that? Do you have like a PDF online or something?
Yeah, maybe we can link. We have a for this particular area.
For this,
we
one,
have a relative planning guide, which will
Okay.
give you what we kind of call the rule of thumb dates. Maybe in other areas or regions.
Because on the back of a seed packet, it really only gives you spring instructions.
And that spring is usually pretty wide.
It is wide. It's real wide. Like if you get a pack of carrot seeds or whatever, it will show you based on your zone when your kind of planting opportunity is. But it really only gives it for spring. It doesn't say,
and here,
also August.
Here you want to be kind of hyper focused because our seasonality is so different than a lot of other places. So we'll put a link to the PDF in the show notes. And virtually, at least in Texas, you can typically find one of these guides from your local AgriLife Extension office.
Okay, cool.
Most counties have some form of a planning guide that will give you kind of that rule of thumb.
Who's making that? AgriLife?
AgriLife does, man, and the Master Gardener program supports like creating that. So a lot of the Master Gardener programs like help create these things and put them out there so that there's resources available.
I'm just getting a kick out of like thinking that each county has like a gardening wizard that puts something out. Yeah. That's what it feels like. Yeah.
Have a pointy hat.
Yeah. Just have a little pointy hat. I wonder who that is. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to see who Jefferson County's gardening wizard is. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can have that kind of resource, but here that resource is only as good as your understanding of the seasons. So for newer gardeners, you may be a little less successful because you have to learn the nuances of the climate here and learn to look at certain signs that tell you, hey, I can start a little earlier. Oh, hey, I need to wait a little bit longer because this year it's even more
colder.
Hot, right? Or it's actually cold this year. Or, hey, the summer is dragging out and the hot temperatures are longer. It's warmer than normal. Maybe I need to wait a little bit to put this out. So maybe that reference will help some people out.
Yeah. So that's cool. So that's a little bit about timing, right? So we're stuck here, dead middle of summer. Everything's dying. Well, not everything, but a lot of things are dying, and we're thinking about doing our new one. We have to be conscious of the timing for germinating and putting those things in the ground. So we've covered that. But what about some other struggles? Do I need to do anything to my soil after the hot summer? Does the sun hitting a raised bed and just being blistering hot, does that affect the nutrients in any way? I need to get my area ready? So
obviously when the soil heats up, microbes are more active in the soil.
Yeah.
And microbes work with plants to cycle nutrients and keep the soil, healthy and living. So the plants are using up nutrients and the plants are giving sugars back to the microbes. So when it's hotter, that cycle is faster. Plants use more nutrients. So
I feel like most organic processes are faster when it's hot. Yeah.
Like things decay faster when it's hot. Same thing, so you do want to replenish maybe by adding, a top dressing of compost into your raised beds. Yeah. Maybe you want to put a slow release organic fertilizer out towards the end of the season to help put some of those micronutrients and vital resources back into the soil. Maybe you want to make some upgrades. Maybe you want to put in some drip irrigation to help better utilize your water.
It's probably also a good time to put some supports, right? Some support structures.
Yep.
If maybe you notice that your climbing your cucumbers didn't do so well, it might be a good time to like kind of dial that in.
Yeah. And you could also, if you haven't, or maybe if you had and it's starting to break down, because we talked about it's heating up, so things are breaking down faster, topping off mulch layers in your raised beds is going to help keep the moisture content better, which is going to help keep the soil better off as we transition through the rest of this hot summer. And so you kind of just like rejuvenating the bed. So you're repeating some of the same processes that you do if you're starting over or if you're getting ready for spring. It's kind of a cycle.
Yeah.
Things are coming out we're putting our amendments and enhancements back in to support the soil and in front of planting out new transplants, seeds. So yeah.
What are some crops that we're thinking about going into the fall that are better as a direct sow? Right. I know that tomatoes and all those things we can start and germinate those in the house, but do you know anything that really needs to be direct sown?
Honestly, most all your fall crops do best by direct sow.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know, that's from lettuce to broccoli. And you think about it, like what makes one brassica or a leafy green, whether it's a broccoli, a cauliflower, or kale, when you look at it, we talked about this before, all the seeds are exactly the same.
Yeah, it's the same plant.
So if I'm going to direct sow out my mustard seeds, you know, those types of seeds are well suited for direct sowing. They are harder to direct sow, so we tend to overseed them. And
like put too many in a
because
foot.
They're tiny.
Yeah,
you know,
mustard seeds are like
extremely small, but we can still go back and thin them out. Versus when we take those delicate greens and we put them in a seeding tray, it doesn't mean they won't work, but they tend to get leggy really fast if we're not ready to.
I've noticed that. I didn't know that was a thing with lettuce. Every time I've tried to grow them, I've always tried to germinate them indoors. And they get just so leggy, and then they start making little.
Yeah, and then it's like they have like a little stalk, and then there's the actual leaves, and then it's like laid over.
And it's laid over, yeah.
So you're going to get a stronger plant direct sowing most of the upcoming fall stuff, and you don't want to seed those anytime soon. And that's important to know if you're going to direct sow those items. You know, peppers, tomatoes.
Yeah.
We need that length of time. So now, as we move into our latter
germinate
season,
those indoors, right?
Because we need those plants to grow up and be
hardy and good to
put them out.
transplant.
Whereas the other ones can handle these cooler temperatures.
Yeah,
you know, some of the fall climate adjustments, but they also germinate incredibly fast.
Yeah.
So we can put out some of these greens and see germination very quickly.
So we should wait on that.
So
right.
we're not going to see a lot of those direct sow things until maybe September.
Oh, wow.
Even some things into October, like lettuce. Lettuce is not going to do well in September. It's still blistering hot.
Super hot, yeah.
It's going to bolt. It's going to just struggle.
So even if it's a young plant and it hits that temperature, it could still bolt.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
So instead of growing your nice big leaves that you need, you'll grow a little leggy thing that's like, it's time to go to seed.
Broccoli's my favorite thing to like get you an understand of bolting and temperature, because even though it's a cool season crop, last year, mine growing in shade, I didn't get one head of broccoli. It all bolted.
Really?
Because the temperature in that particular space was just too hot.
You can't just cut it off where it's bolting and force it to.
By the time I even saw it, it was too late. Too late. It wasn't even big. It just like, oh, hey, there's a little head forming.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, spindly, go to seed. So as you get ready to plant some of these fall things, though, too, it'd be a great time to think about adding shade, because we're growing a lot of this stuff out of the warm season.
Right.
The warm season is still stressful, but it's stressful up front when the plants are typically younger and our temperatures are dropping in September and October, and it becomes more tolerable. But that doesn't mean that a little bit of shade might help prevent bolting, might change the temperature just enough to make that plant ride through that stressful time.
What are some of the ways that you suggest shading plants?
You know, the simplest way is obviously a shade cloth, but it does take the most work because you got to be able to hold it up. But that could be a wide array.
Is that cheap? Is that like an affordable option, a shade cloth?
I think so. I mean, they're not the cheapest, but they're probably going to give you the most longevity.
Right.
Out of if you buy like a nice woven shade cloth.
And they're not like a solid fabric. It's not like it blocks the sun out, right?
It's just blocking UV rays, and you're getting light through there, but blocking out a lot of those like really hot UV rays.
Yeah.
That energy, you're reducing the temperature, you're reducing the stress, you're increasing the water usage, or decreasing the water usage, I guess.
Right. Increasing water retention.
Yeah.
And it stands to reason too, as the sun is over the direct position. So like noon, that's when the most energy is being transferred onto that little spot. So it makes sense that putting a shade over it. It's still going to get direct sunlight in morning and evening hours, but that super intense spot is kind of
I mean, in some places, you might be blocking off that really late afternoon, that 3 to 5, when it's like this time of year is the most miserable.
It's very hot. Yeah.
But that, you could have like you could be laying shade cloth over like some PVC hoops that you stuffed into the ground. You don't have to have some complicated like concreted posts, with guide wires, I
know people that do have that.
That's the way I do it, because that's just how I overcomplicate things. But doesn't mean you should do it that way. You make it simple.
It is easy to put a landscaping timber in a 5-gallon bucket and concrete it in, though. That is easy.
Yep. I'm about to do it over.
It doesn't have to go on the ground. Yeah.
But I don't know. What else?
Companion planting, maybe? Is that a good way to do shade? Well, not really.
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about this before. You could be strategically placing tall growing plants. Maybe if you're a planter, you would obviously have to be a very good planter. You could be putting in younger plants, even like your warm season stuff, that you could be putting them behind things like okra that are
okra
taller
makes a
growing.
good shade,
you could be putting it behind a tall eggplant that's going to thrive through most of the summer.
Eggplant's a good one. It's got those big leaves.
Yeah,
it casts some good shade.
I did that last year to shade out some of my peppers.
That's a good idea. I like that.
And it worked really well.
Yeah.
So you can use companion planting in the non-traditional sense to pair plants together that will grow well together for the benefit of shade. You could be planting a trellis and use that instead of having it on the back. You could have it in the front during the hot part, and have even just green matter. Like, let's say you had cucumbers, you could plant some other things behind it. Even if it looks crummy and it's dying and it's brown, you still have organic matter that's blocking hot
the
sun. So
that's true.
It doesn't always have to look pretty, but it could still be functional.
Yeah, for sure.
So, some of those things, hey, maybe I'm not ready to give up my cucumbers yet, but maybe if they hang on long enough, I can use that wall.
That's a good idea
to plant behind, but it all depends on your layout.
I've seen people do that with muscadimes. I've seen that be a good little climber that kind of provides a shade and a trellis. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
You did ask on like what direct sowing. As we move into fall, you should always only direct sow root crops like carrots, beets, radishes, turnips. Like those should.
So if it's a root crop, it should
never be transplanted. Just a lot of that stuff doesn't tolerate being uprooted and moved.
It's delicate.
It wants to grow.
It's not like a tomato that doesn't give a crap.
Yep.
You can you can take a tomato, germinate it, and then just take the whole puck out.
So
and
that picture there behind you, the kids from the Boy Scouts, I went and taught them about planting tomatoes, and so I didn't really think it through. It was a last minute thing. I went and helped them out, and I brought 3 tomatoes and 3 buckets. Well, there was 10 kids. So they all wanted to plant it, and I couldn't choose. So you had to split them? I couldn't choose which kid. So we replanted the same 3 plants probably 15 times a piece.
Yeah.
And that plant, it never looked sad.
It's like, this is fine. I'm cool with this.
Digging it up.
Yeah.
Burying it, digging it up, handling it. But your fall crops, your true fall crops don't they can't handle that. So
right. But there is 3, just to kind of cap this off and recap this, there's kind of the 3 sorry about that, seasons you were talking about.
Yeah.
And we have kind of the spring crop 1 and kind of spring crop 2.
Yep. So we have 2 warm seasons.
We have 2 warm seasons. Not spring, I'm being confusing there, but 2 warm seasons, and then your fall. That's kind of what we're talking about.
So best way to look at it is our spring is a warm season.
Right.
Our summer is a hot season. Those make sense.
And that's it. Right? Yeah.
Our fall is
also a warm season.
And our
and then our winter
is a cool
season. It's not a cold season.
Yeah. We only get maybe a couple weeks of truly cold
we don't really
weather here. Or what we would consider truly cold. So you kind of look at it like that. It's the latter part of the year
Right.
that does not align with traditional seasons.
That's interesting. That's very illuminating. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people get really confused about because we're all sort of taught a standard thing, which is 4 seasons,
Mhm.
and I feel like here's a tangent warning. I'm going to go on a tangent, but growing up and going to school, everything is kind of filtered through the idea of the Northeast.
Yeah.
Right. When you're learning about seasons in school, you're learning about the Northeast seasons, right? You're learning about New England. You're not learning about Texas.
It's it's interesting, like how I learned that. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, but I never looked at the seasons
Right.
like that. And I took like a course and read a book from this book here. Actually, it's called The Kitchen Garden Revival.
Oh, cool.
This lady, she used to live in Houston, and she's very successful on Nicole Burke.
She had like a market garden.
Yeah, like building gardens. But she had a lot of good information, and it was really like driving home like some simple concepts. And she basically had an arc.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll make a short this week, kind of showing this arc. And we crafted this arc, and anybody could do this for their own area, and you can figure out what month is what season so that you can learn to best utilize the seasons. And that was where like I finally truly saw it. I already knew you could plant a lot of these things twice, but like it never really like locked in that like, hey, we only really have 3 seasons.
The idea locked in for me, kind of studying my favorite plant, which is peppers, because I've had plenty of pepper plants that do so well. They grow up, they start producing a lot of peppers in the spring, and they get to the point, the dead of summer, where they get really stressed out. Some of them even kind of die back a little bit, but then once the heat stops being so hot, they'll come back and they'll have another flush and they'll make more peppers. And I'm like, it's kind of it, and it makes sense when you think about it intuitively for where you live, right? Yeah. If you can kind of get rid of that idea of these are 4 seasons, when October is supposed to be here, the leaves change. None of that happens here. None of it happens here.
I think like gardening is not over when summer hits in Southeast Texas.
No, we have lots of hot weather plants
it's here
too. So
year round, and that's a mentality that a lot of beginners don't know, or they're not introduced to. When spring is over and it gets hot and gardening gets hard, it's over until next spring.
And that's kind of reinforced for people that are beginners. That's also kind of reinforced by the buying habits of the places where they go to buy these things. And we've talked about that before in earlier episodes, but if you're going to Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's to get your plants, their inventory isn't optimized for our growing conditions. They're optimized by buyer trends, by consumer trends. And people get a spring bug and they go out and buy all these little Bonnie plants. And that's when they have them here. But there's plenty of opportunity all around the calendar, and those big stores might not have plants then. So it's easy to forget that there is opportunity all around the calendar. Yeah. So interesting.
I agree.
I think that's about it for what you should do right now in the dead middle of summer. It's so hot. Let go of all those plants you grew, especially if you're a first time grower and you're so thankful for, your tomato plants that gave you some good juicy tomatoes and now they're dying. Just cut them off, right? Just cut them off.
If you're not feeling it anymore, just get rid of it.
Don't let them limp along. Don't let them suffer. Just cut them off. Reinvigorate your soil. Get it right. Start some seeds inside.
Yep. And then, get a plan for fall, because it's going to be here before we know it.
Before you know it. But I'm going to go take a shower because I'm already sweating because it's so hot. And we'll see you guys next time.